Commander Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the USS Defiance. He was drinking his morning coffee when the alarm started screaming. The coffee cup fell from his hands and broke on the metal floor. Jake had been in space for 15 years, but he had never heard alarms like these. "Sir, we have contacts," shouted Lieutenant Betty Clark from her station. Her voice was shaking. 300 ships just appeared above Earth. Jake ran to the main screen. What he saw made his blood run cold. Huge black ships hung in space above his home planet. They were unlike anything humans had ever built. Each ship was the size of a city. They moved in perfect lines, like dancers in a deadly ballet. "Where did they come from?" Jake asked. "They just appeared, sir. No warning, no signals." 1 second. Space was empty. The next second they were there. On Earth, Admiral Lisa Carter was running through the halls of NORAD. Her phone was ringing every few seconds. World leaders were calling from every country. Everyone wanted to know the same thing. What were those ships? Lisa burst into the command center. Dozens of people were working at computers. Every screen showed the same thing. Alien ships over major cities: New York, London, Tokyo, Moscow. The ships were everywhere. "Report," Lisa ordered. Captain Steve Parker looked up from his station. The ships appeared at exactly 12 o'clock Greenwich Mean Time. They're positioned over every major population center on Earth. We count 300 ships total. Any communication? Yes, ma'am. They're broadcasting on all frequencies. Same message, repeating every 10 minutes. Lisa felt her heart pounding. Put it on speaker. The alien voice filled the room. It spoke in perfect English, then switched to Chinese, then Spanish, then every human language. The voice was cold and mechanical. "People of Earth, we are the Zephyrian Empire. We have traveled across the galaxy for 1,000 years. We have conquered 47 species. You will be the 48th. You have 24 hours to surrender. If you refuse, we will destroy every city, every town, every human settlement. Surrender now, and some of you will live as our servants. Refuse, and all of you will die." The message ended. The room was completely silent. Dr. Kevin Brooks was in his laboratory when the aliens arrived. He was studying samples from Mars when his assistant ran in. "Dr. Brooks, you need to see this," the young man said. His name was Tony Baker, and he looked terrified. Kevin followed Tony to the main lab. Every scientist in the building was gathered around a huge screen. They were watching the alien broadcast. Kevin listened to the message 3 times. 47 species, Kevin said quietly. "They've done this before." "What do you think happened to those other species?" Tony asked. Kevin didn't answer. He was already working at his computer, analyzing the alien transmission. The data was incredible. These aliens had technology beyond human understanding. Their ships could travel faster than light. Their weapons could destroy planets. But Kevin noticed something else. The message was the same in every language, word for word. It was like they had used it many times before. President Alan Stone was in the Oval Office when the aliens arrived. He was signing papers when his chief of staff burst through the door. "Mr. President, we have a situation." Alan looked up. He had been president for 3 years. He had dealt with wars, disasters, and political crisis. But nothing had prepared him for this. Within an hour, Alan was on a video call with every world leader. The Prime Minister of England, the President of China, the Chancellor of Germany. They were all asking the same questions. "What do we do?" Asked the Prime Minister of Canada. "Can we fight them?" Asked the President of Brazil. "Should we surrender?" Asked the Prime Minister of Japan. Alan looked at all their faces on his screen. These were the most powerful people on Earth, and they all looked scared. We need more information, Alan said. We need to know what we're dealing with. In space, Captain Amy Rodriguez was preparing her ship for launch. The Mercury was a small, fast ship designed for reconnaissance. It could move without being detected. If anyone could get close to the alien ships, it was Amy. "Control, this is Mercury requesting permission to launch," Amy said into her radio. "Mercury, this is Control. Permission denied. Too dangerous." Amy looked at her co-pilot, Frank Davis. They had flown together for 5 years. Frank nodded. They both knew what they had to do. "Control, we're going anyway. Humanity needs to know what we're up against." Amy fired her engines. The Mercury shot away from the space station toward the alien fleet. Back on Earth, Dr. Helen Walsh was in the library. She was a historian who studied human wars. She was reading about every major conflict in human history. World War I, World. War II, the American Civil War, ancient battles between tribes. Helen noticed something. Humans had a pattern. When threatened, they didn't run. They didn't hide. They fought. Sometimes they lost, but they always fought. She picked up her phone and called Admiral Carter. "Admiral, this is Dr. Walsh. I need to speak with you about human history." "I'm busy, Doctor. We have an alien invasion to deal with." "That's exactly why you need to hear this. Every other species surrendered to these aliens. But humans are different. We've never surrendered when our survival was at stake. Not once in our entire history." Lisa paused. "What are you saying, Doctor?" "I'm saying these aliens have never faced anything like us before." The hours passed slowly. Around the world, people watched the skies. Some prayed, some cried. Some packed their belongings and tried to leave the cities. But most just waited. The alien ships didn't move. They hung in space like black clouds, blocking out the sun in many places. Every few hours, they repeated their message. 24 hours to surrender. Jake Morrison watched from the bridge of the Defiance. His ship was small compared to the alien vessels, but it was the most advanced warship humanity had ever built. Jake thought about his wife and children on Earth below. "Sir," Lieutenant Clark said, "we're receiving a message from Earth Command. Put it through." Admiral Carter's voice filled the bridge. "All ships, this is Admiral Carter. The President will address the world in 1 hour. After that, we'll know our course of action. Until then, maintain positions and await orders." Jake looked at his crew. They were young, most of them. They had joined the Space Navy to explore and protect. Now they might have to fight for the survival of their species. "You heard the Admiral," Jake said. "We wait." But Jake knew that waiting was the hardest part. In a few hours, humanity would have to make the most important decision in its history. Surrender and live as slaves, or fight and risk everything. The countdown had begun. Captain Amy Rodriguez guided the Mercury through the darkness of space. Her ship was small and quiet, designed to move without being seen. Frank Davis sat beside her, watching the alien fleet grow larger on their screen. "How many do you count?" Amy asked. Frank checked his instruments. 50 ships in this group alone. Each one is huge. Our biggest warship could fit inside one of their cargo bays. Amy felt sweat on her forehead. She had flown dangerous missions before, but nothing like this. If the aliens detected them, the Mercury would be destroyed in seconds. "There," Frank pointed at the screen. "That big one in the center, that has to be their command ship." Amy steered toward the massive vessel. It was black as night, with strange symbols glowing along its hull. As they got closer, Amy could see smaller ships moving around it like insects around a hive. "I'm picking up their communications," Frank said. He put his hand to his earpiece and listened. "They're talking to each other, but it's not in any language I know. Can you record it?" "Already doing it. But Amy, There's something else. Their weapons are massive, but I'm seeing something strange about their defenses. Amy looked at Frank's screen. He was right. The alien ships had powerful weapons pointed at Earth, but their defensive systems seemed basic. Their shields were strong, but they were designed for a specific type of attack. It's like they've never fought anyone who fought back, Frank said. Meanwhile, on Earth, Dr. Helen Walsh was in a meeting room with military leaders from around the world. She had files and books spread across a large table. Each book was about a different war in human history. Gentlemen, ladies, Helen began, I've studied every major conflict humans have ever fought. I've found something important. General Paul Evans leaned forward. He was the commander of Earth's orbital defense systems. What did you find, Doctor? These aliens said they conquered 47 species. I believe they're telling the truth. But I think those other species all did the same thing. They surrendered quickly. Why do you think that? Asked Colonel Maria Gonzalez. Helen opened a book about World War II. Because humans don't surrender. Look at this. When the Germans bombed London every night for months, did the British surrender? No. When the Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor, did Americans give up? No. When faced with extinction, humans fight. She opened another book. The Spartans at Thermopylae knew they would die, but they fought anyway. Native American tribes fought against overwhelming odds. In every war, in every battle, when humans are threatened with extinction, we choose to fight. Admiral Carter was listening from the video screen. But Doctor, those were fights between humans. This is different. These aliens have technology we can't match. Helen smiled. That's what makes this even more interesting. When humans face a stronger enemy, we don't give up. We get creative, we adapt. We find ways to win that no one expects. General Evans was quiet for a moment. What are you suggesting? I'm suggesting that these aliens have no idea what they're dealing with. They expect us to surrender like everyone else. But humans have never surrendered when our survival was at stake. Not once. In his laboratory, Dr. Kevin Brooks was analyzing the alien transmission. He had been working for 12 hours straight. His eyes were red and tired, but he had found something important. Tony Baker brought him more coffee. Doctor, you should rest. No time, Kevin said. He pointed at his computer screen. Look at this. The alien's message is identical to transmissions we've detected from other star systems. Same words, same tone, same everything. What does that mean? It means they use the same strategy every time. They appear, they threaten, and the other species surrender. They've probably never had to actually fight. Kevin pulled up more data. And look at this. Their ships are powerful, but they're designed for intimidation, not combat. Their weapons are meant to destroy planets, not fight other spaceships. Tony looked confused. But that's bad for us, right? They can destroy planets. Only if they're willing to use those weapons. Think about it. If they wanted to destroy Earth, why give us 24 hours? Why not just attack immediately? Kevin stood up and paced around the room. Because they want us to surrender. They need us alive for some reason. Maybe as workers, maybe as slaves. But they need living humans. So what do? We do what humans do best. We surprise them. President Alan Stone was in the Situation Room with his advisors. The room was deep underground, protected from any attack. But Alan knew that if the aliens wanted to destroy this place, no amount of concrete and steel would stop them. Mr. President, said his defense secretary, we've received reports from Captain Rodriguez. She's managed to scan the alien fleet without being detected. Alan looked at the report. What did she find? Their weapons are powerful, but their defenses are designed to fight enemies who attack in predictable ways. Captain Rodriguez believes we might have a chance if we use unconventional tactics. Alan's Secretary of State spoke up. Sir, perhaps we should consider surrender. If we can save even some of our people ... No. The voice came from Admiral Carter on the video screen. Dr. Walsh is right. Humans don't surrender. And I'll tell you why. Because once you surrender, you're at there. Mercy. And aliens who conquer 47 species don't show mercy. Alan nodded. What are our options? Admiral Carter looked at her notes. We have limited space forces, but our pilots are well trained. We have ground-based defenses around major cities. And we have something these aliens have never encountered before. What's that? A species that would rather die fighting than live on their knees. In space, Jake Morrison was watching the alien fleet. His ship, the Defiance, was one of humanity's most advanced warships. But compared to the alien vessels, it looked like a toy. Lieutenant Betty Clark was at her station, monitoring communications. Sir, I'm picking up chatter from the other human ships. Morale is low. The crews are scared. Jake understood. He was scared too, but fear could be useful if you knew how to use it. Open a channel to all human ships, Jake ordered. Channel open. Sir, Jake spoke into his microphone. This is Commander Morrison to all ships. I know what you're thinking. I know you're scared. So am I. These aliens are bigger than us, stronger than us, and more advanced than us. He paused, looking out at the alien fleet. But they made one mistake. They gave us time to think, time to prepare, time to remember who we are. We are humans. We are the species that climbed out of caves and reached for the stars. We are the species that survived ice ages, plagues, and wars. We don't give up. We don't surrender. And today, we're going to show these aliens what happens when you threaten Earth. Across the fleet, human crews listened to Jake's words. On dozens of ships, sailors and officers stood a little straighter. Back on Earth, Ambassador Chris Turner was preparing for the most important speech in human history. In a few hours, the alien deadline would expire. Turner would have to give humanity's answer. He was in his office, writing notes on a piece of paper. The words had to be perfect. The entire future of the human race might depend on what he said. His assistant knocked on the door. Mr. Ambassador, the President wants to see you. Turner walked to the Situation Room. President Stone was there with all his advisors. Everyone looked at Turner when he entered. Chris, the President said, in 3 hours, you're going to speak for all of humanity. What are you going to tell them? Turner looked around the room. These were the most powerful people on Earth, and they were all waiting for his answer. I'm going to tell them the truth, sir. I'm going to tell them that humans don't surrender. Not today, not ever. Admiral Carter smiled. And then? And then we see what happens when an unstoppable force meets an unmovable object. The countdown continued. Around the world, people gathered around televisions and radios. They watched the skies where alien ships blotted out the sun. Children asked their parents what was happening. Parents tried to explain something they didn't understand themselves. But in military bases and command centers, something was happening. Plans were being made. Weapons were being prepared. Pilots were climbing into cockpits. Humanity was getting ready to fight. The 24 hours were almost over. Around the world, people held their breath and watched their screens. The alien ships hung in the sky like dark clouds, waiting for humanity's answer. Ambassador Chris Turner stood in a small room at the United Nations building in New York. Above him, he could see the shadow of an alien ship through the window. The ship was so large it covered half the sky. Turner looked at the camera in front of him. In a few minutes, his words would be broadcast to every human on Earth and to the alien fleet above. He had practiced his speech many times, but now his Mouth felt dry. President Stone's voice came through his earpiece. Chris, you ready? As ready as I'll ever be, sir. Remember, you're not just speaking for America. You're speaking for all of humanity. Turner nodded. He thought about his wife and children at home. He thought about every human who had ever lived and died on Earth. The weight of their entire species rested on his shoulders. The technician counted down. In 5.4.3.2.1, you're live. Turner looked directly into the camera. This message is for the alien fleet above our planet. You have demanded our surrender. You have told us we have no choice. You say you have conquered 47 other species. He paused. Around the world, billions of people listened to every word. You clearly don't know humans very well. In space, the alien commander was on the bridge of his flagship. His name was HFY, and he had led the conquest of 12 different species. This should have been easy. The humans were primitive. Their weapons were weak. Their ships were small, but something felt different this time. Commander, said one of his officers, the humans are transmitting. Put it on the main screen. HFY watched the human ambassador. The alien had expected to see fear in the human's eyes. Instead, he saw something else. Something he didn't recognize. Turner continued his speech. For 47 species, you appeared in their skies, and they surrendered. They chose to live as your slaves rather than die as free beings. But you made a mistake when you came to Earth. He stood up straighter. You see, humans have a saying. We would rather die on our feet than live on our knees. We have fought wars for thousands of years. We have survived disasters that would have destroyed other species. We have never given up, and we are not starting now. HFY felt something he had not felt in many years. Uncertainty. The human was not begging. He was not afraid. He was defiant. Sir, said the alien officer, what should we do? Wait, HFY said. Let him finish. Turner looked at the camera one more time. He thought about every human who had ever stood up to a bully. Every soldier who had fought against impossible odds. Every person who had said no when everyone expected them to say yes. You asked for our surrender, Turner said. Here is humanity's answer. He paused. In space stations around Earth, human crews watched their screens. On the surface, people in cities and towns held their breath. Even the alien crews had stopped what they were doing to listen. Turner spoke one word, just one word. But it carried the weight of all human history. No. The word echoed across space. It was transmitted on every frequency, in every human language. In English, Spanish, Chinese, Arabic, Hindi, Russian. The message was the same in every tongue. On the alien flagship, HFY stared at the screen. In all his years of conquest, no species had ever simply said no. They had begged. They had tried to negotiate. They had offered tribute. But none had simply refused. Commander, said his officer. They said no. I heard them. What are your orders? HFY didn't answer immediately. He had conquered so many worlds that it had become routine. Appear, threaten, accept surrender, move on. But this was different. The human was still speaking. We know you could destroy our cities. We know your weapons are powerful. But we also know something you don't. Humans don't surrender. We never have, and we never will. Turner's voice grew stronger. So if you want Earth, you'll have to take it. But understand this, we will fight. We will make you pay for every inch of ground. We will turn your easy conquest into the hardest battle you've ever fought. Captain Steve Parker was monitoring alien communications from NORAD. He could hear the confusion in their transmissions. The aliens were talking to each other in their strange language, but their tone had changed. They sounded uncertain. "Admiral Carter," Steve called out. "The aliens are transmitting to their home fleet. I think they're asking for instructions." Admiral Carter smiled grimly. "They've never had to ask for instructions before. Every other species gave up without a fight." Dr. Kevin Brooks was watching from his laboratory. His analysis had been correct. The aliens had no plan for a species that refused to surrender. Their entire strategy was built on fear and intimidation. "Tony," he said to his assistant, "record everything. Whatever happens next, we need to understand how they fight." Turner finished his speech. "To the people of Earth, we stand together. Today not as different nations, but as one species. We are human, and humans don't give up. To the aliens above us, you wanted an answer. You have it. Now let's see what you do with it." The transmission ended. Around the world, people cheered. Not because they weren't afraid, but because someone had finally said what they all felt. They would not surrender. On the alien flagship, Zex-Hi was in conference with his sub-commanders. They were arguing in their language, but the meaning was clear. They had never faced this situation before. "The humans refused to surrender," said one commander. "Then we destroy them," said another. "We have done it before." "But we have never had to destroy an entire species," said a third. "The Empire prefers live slaves to dead planets." Zex-Hi thought about his orders from the Zephyrian home world. "Conquer, don't destroy. Take slaves, don't eliminate species." "But what do you do when a species won't be conquered?" "Sir," said his communications officer, "we're receiving a transmission from the human fleet. What do they want?" "They're not asking for anything, sir. A single quotes challenging us." The message was from Commander Jake Morrison on the Defiance. "Alien fleet, this is the human warship Defiance. You wanted to conquer us. Come and try." Other human ships joined in. One by one, every human vessel in space transmitted the same message. They were not running. They were not hiding. They were preparing to fight. Captain Amy Rodriguez was still hidden near the alien fleet in her ship Mercury. She watched as the alien formation began to change. They were moving from invasion positions to battle positions. "Frank," she said to her co-pilot, "send a message to Earth Command. The aliens are preparing to attack. What should I tell them?" Amy looked at the massive alien ships around her. "Tell them the aliens are about to learn something new. They're about to learn what happens when you fight humans." Back on Earth, General Paul Evans was coordinating the defense. Every military base was on high alert. Every weapon system was powered up. Every pilot was in his cockpit. "This is General Evans to all units," he said into his radio. "The aliens are moving to attack positions. All units, prepare for battle. Remember, we're not just fighting for ourselves. We're fighting for every human who will ever be born." Dr. Helen Walsh was still in the command center, surrounded by her history books. She looked at Admiral Carter. "Admiral, in all my research, I found one thing that every successful human defense had in common." "What's that, Doctor?" "We fight. Harder when we're protecting our home." Turner was still in his broadcast room when the alert came. The aliens were moving. The battle was about to begin. He thought about his speech. One word had changed everything. No was such a simple word, but it carried all of human history. It was the word slaves said to masters. It was the word the weak said to the strong. It was the word humans said when asked to give up. Outside, he could see the alien ships beginning to move. Their weapons were powering up. Humanity's answer had surprised them, but now they were going to respond with force. Turner picked up his radio. "This is Ambassador Turner to all human forces. The aliens are moving. The battle is about to begin. Remember what we told them. We said no. Now we have to prove we meant it." Around the world, humans looked up at the sky. The alien ships were no longer hanging still. They were moving into attack positions. Weapons that could destroy cities were charging up, but humans were moving too. Fighter jets were taking off from every airbase. Ships were leaving harbors. Soldiers were taking positions. The most important battle in human history was about to begin. On one side was the Zephyrian Empire, conquerors of 47 worlds. On the other side was humanity, a species that had never learned how to surrender. Got in space, Jake Morrison spoke to his crew. All hands, this is the captain. Battle stations. Today we find out if humans are as tough as we think we are. The word no had started something that could not be stopped. The battle for Earth was about to begin. The first shots came from space. Commander Jake Morrison watched on his screen as bright beams of energy shot down from the alien ships toward Earth. The beams hit military bases and communication centers. Explosions lit up the planet's surface like deadly fireworks. All human ships, this is Morrison, Jake said into his radio. They fired first. All units engage. The space battle began immediately. Jake's ship, the Defiance, fired its missiles at the nearest alien vessel. The missiles hit the alien ship's shields and exploded in bright flashes. The alien ship barely moved, but something strange happened. More human ships joined the attack. Then more. The aliens had expected the humans to scatter and run. Instead, every human ship in space was moving toward the alien fleet. Lieutenant Betty Clark was at her weapons station. "Sir, our missiles aren't doing much damage." "Keep firing," Jake ordered. "We're not trying to destroy them yet. We're trying to learn how they fight." On the alien flagship, Commander Zex High was watching the battle with confusion. The human ships were small and weak, but they were not retreating. Instead, they were attacking in ways he had never seen before. "Sir," said his tactical officer, "the humans are not following any known battle formation. They're attacking from all directions at once." "Destroy them," Zex High ordered. The alien ships fired their main weapons. Massive energy beams cut through space toward the human fleet. 3 human ships were destroyed immediately. But the rest kept coming. Captain Amy Rodriguez was still hidden in her small ship near the alien fleet. She watched as human ships exploded around her. But she also saw something the aliens missed. The human attacks were not random. They had a pattern. "Frank," she said to her co-pilot, "the humans are testing the alien defenses. Look, every attack is hitting a different part of their shields." Frank checked his instruments. "You're right. Commander Morrison is collecting data on their weak points." Amy smiled grimly. Typical human strategy. When you can't win with strength, win with intelligence. On Earth, the battle was just beginning. Colonel Maria Gonzalez was leading a squadron of fighter jets toward the alien ships hanging over New York City. The alien vessels were massive, but they were also slow. "Red Squadron, this is Colonel Gonzalez," she said into her radio. "Remember the plan. We're too small for their main weapons to track. Get in close and hit their weapon ports." Her fighter jet screamed through the sky toward the alien ship. The ship was so large it blocked out the sun. But Maria had been flying for 20 years. She knew how to use speed and agility against a larger enemy. The aliens fired at her squadron with smaller weapons. Beams of energy cut through the air around the jets. 2 fighters were hit and crashed, but Maria kept flying. "Target acquired," she said, firing missiles. Her missiles hit one of the alien weapon ports. The explosion was small compared to the size of the ship, but it worked. That weapon port went dark. "All squadrons, this is Gonzalez. The plan works. Hit their weapon ports. They can't defend them all." Around the world, the same scene was playing out. Human fighters were attacking. Alien ships over every major city. The aliens had powerful weapons, but they were designed to fight large ships, not small, fast fighters. In his underground command center, General Paul Evans was coordinating the global defense. Reports were coming in from every continent. "Sir," said his aide, "London reports successful strikes on alien weapon systems. Tokyo is reporting the same. The aliens are having trouble hitting our fighters. What about casualties?" "Heavy, sir. We're losing a lot of good pilots. But the plan is working." Evans nodded grimly. He had known the cost would be high. But humans had always been willing to pay the price for freedom. Dr. Sam Mitchell was monitoring the battle from a research station in orbit. He was collecting data on alien technology and human tactics. What he saw amazed him. "This is incredible," he said to his assistant. "The aliens have superior technology, but they fight like they've never faced real resistance before." "What do you mean?" "Look at their formations. They're designed for intimidation, not combat. Their weapons are powerful, but slow. Their shields are strong, but they can't adapt quickly to changing tactics." Sam pulled up data from the space battle. "And look at this. The humans are changing tactics every few minutes. The aliens can't keep up." In space, Jake Morrison was leading the human fleet in a complex dance around the alien ships. Human vessels would attack, retreat, regroup, and attack again from a different angle. The aliens tried to respond, but they were always one step behind. "Sir," said Lieutenant Clark, "we're getting reports from Earth. The planetary defense is working. The aliens can't hit our fighters effectively." Jake smiled. "That's because they've never fought anyone who fought back before. They're used to destroying defenseless targets." But Jake knew the battle was far from over. The aliens were starting to adapt. Their smaller weapons were getting better at tracking human fighters, and their main fleet was still largely undamaged. "All ships," Jake said, "prepare for Phase 2 of the attack." Lieutenant Tony Baker was flying his fighter over Los Angeles when the aliens changed tactics. Instead of trying to hit individual fighters, they started firing at the city itself. "All units, this is Baker," he called into his radio. "The aliens are targeting civilians." "Repeat, they're targeting civilians." Tony watched in horror as energy beams struck buildings in downtown Los Angeles. Thousands of people were in those buildings. But then something amazing happened. Other fighters moved to block the alien beams. Pilots were putting their own ships between the aliens and the civilians below. Some fighters were destroyed, but they saved countless lives. "This is what makes youth human," Tony said to himself. "We protect each other." Captain Steve Parker was still monitoring alien communications from NORAD. The alien chatter had changed completely. Where before they had sounded confident, now they sounded confused and angry. "Admiral Carter," Steve called out, "the aliens are calling for reinforcements. They're asking their home fleet for help." Admiral Carter looked up from her command screen. "How long until reinforcements arrive?" "Unknown, ma'am. But based on their communications, I don't think they were expecting to need help." Dr. Kevin Brooks was analyzing battle data in real time. His computers were processing information from every human sensor in space and on Earth. The picture that emerged was remarkable. "The aliens are losing," he said to Tony. "Not the battle. They're still stronger than us. But they're losing their confidence." "How can you tell?" "Look at their attack patterns. They're becoming more desperate, more random. They're not used to fighting an enemy that fights back." Kevin pulled up a comparison chart. Every other species they conquered gave up immediately. The aliens have been winning easy victories for so long, they don't know how to fight a real war. In the command center, Admiral Carter was receiving reports from around the globe. The news was mixed. Human forces were inflicting damage on the aliens, but the cost was enormous. "Casualties?" she asked. "Heavy, ma'am. We've lost 40% of our space fleet and 60% of our fighter squadrons. And the aliens? We've damaged about 30% of their ships, but none are destroyed yet. Carter nodded. The numbers weren't good, but they weren't hopeless either. More importantly, the aliens were clearly surprised by human resistance. Send a message to all commanders, she said. Tell them the aliens are confused. They don't know how to fight us. We need to keep them off balance. On the alien flagship, Zex-Hi was meeting with his commanders. The easy conquest had become a real battle. Worse, it was a battle they might not win quickly. Status report, Zex-Hi demanded. Sir, we have damaged the human defenses, but they continue to fight. Their tactics are ... usual. Explain. They sacrifice individual ships to save larger groups. They attack our strongest points instead of avoiding them. They adapt their tactics faster than we can respond. Zex-Hi felt something he had not experienced in many years of conquest. Doubt, sir, said another commander. Perhaps we should retreat and wait for reinforcements. Retreat? Zex-Hi could not believe what he was hearing. We have never retreated from a primitive species. But, sir, these humans are not like the others. They fight like they have nothing to lose. Zex-Hi looked at the battle screens around him. Human ships were still attacking despite massive losses. Human fighters were still diving at his vessels, even when it meant certain death. This was not normal behavior. Back on Earth, Rachel Stone was coordinating civilian evacuations in Chicago. She was not a soldier, but when the aliens started targeting cities, she had volunteered to help save lives. Move faster, she called to a group of families running toward the underground shelters. The aliens are charging their weapons again. Above them, an alien ship hung like a dark cloud. Its weapons were glowing, preparing to fire at the buildings below. Rachel knew that thousands of people were still in those buildings. Then she heard the sound of jet engines. A squadron of human fighters was diving toward the alien ship. The lead pilot's voice came over the emergency radio. This is Captain Luke Thompson. All civilians take cover. We're going in. Rachel watched as the fighters attacked the alien vessel. The aliens fired back, destroying 2 fighters immediately. But the remaining pilots kept attacking, hitting the alien weapons before they could fire at the city. They saved us, Rachel whispered. Commander Zex-Hi stared at the human ambassador on his screen. No species had ever offered him mercy before. Usually, by this point in a battle, his enemies were begging for their lives. You offer us mercy? Zex-Hi asked. You are losing this battle. Ambassador Turner's image remained calm. Are we? Look around you, alien commander. Look at your fleet. Zex-Hi did look. His ships were scattered across space. Some were retreating toward the edge of the solar system. Others were fighting. Small groups of human fighters. His perfect formation was gone. Your ships are confused, Turner continued. Your commanders are making their own decisions. You've lost control of your fleet. It was true. Without their communication systems, the alien ships could not coordinate. Each captain was acting alone, and they were all making different choices. But more importantly, Turner said, you've learned something today. You've learned that humans don't surrender. Ever. Lieutenant Betty Clark was at her station on what remained of the human fleet. Only 12 ships were still fighting, but they were still attacking the alien vessels. The aliens had stopped trying to destroy them and were just trying to get away. Ma'am, she called to the new fleet commander. The aliens are trying to retreat. Commander Lisa Hayes had taken over. After Jake Morrison's sacrifice, she looked at her tactical display. The alien fleet was indeed trying to leave the solar system. All ships, she said into her radio. Let them go, but follow them to the edge of our system. Make sure they actually leave. Captain Amy Rodriguez was still alive in her small ship Mercury. She and Frank had survived Jake Morrison's sacrifice, and now they were watching the aliens retreat. "I can't believe it," Frank said. "They're actually leaving." "They don't have a choice," Amy replied. "We've shown them something they've never seen before. A species that fights harder when things get worse." On Earth, people were coming out of their shelters and bunkers. The alien ships above their cities were pulling back into space. Children pointed at the sky as the massive black vessels disappeared. Into the distance, Dr. Kevin Brooks was in his laboratory, monitoring the alien retreat. His computers were tracking every alien ship as it left Earth's solar system. "Tony," he called to his assistant, "are you recording this?" "Every second of it, Doctor. The aliens are leaving faster than they arrived." Kevin smiled. "Make sure we get everything. Future generations need to know what happened here today." In the command center, Admiral Carter was receiving reports from around the globe. The news was better than anyone had dared hope. "Admiral," said Captain Steve Parker, "all alien ships have left Earth orbit. They're heading for the edge of the solar system." "Any indication they're planning to return?" "No, ma'am. If anything, they seem to be running." Dr. Helen Walsh looked up from her history books. "Admiral, I think we've witnessed something unique in human history." "What's that, Doctor?" "We won a war by refusing to lose it." On the alien flagship, Zexhai was trying to understand what had happened. His fleet was retreating in disorder. His perfect record of conquest was broken. Worst of all, he would have to report this failure to the Zephyrian High Command. "Sir," said his communications officer, "we're receiving transmissions from the other conquered worlds." "What are they saying?" The officer looked nervous. "They're asking about the humans, sir. Word is spreading that a species defeated us." Zexhai felt a chill. If the conquered species learned that the Zephyrian Empire could be defeated, they might. Rebel. The entire empire could collapse. "Sir," said another officer, "we're also receiving a final transmission from the humans." "Put it through." Ambassador Turner appeared on the screen again. "Commander Zexhai, this is a message for you and your empire. Today you learned that some species cannot be conquered. You learned that some beings would rather die free than live as slaves." Turner paused, looking directly at the alien commander. "Take this message back to your empire. Tell them what you saw here. Tell them that humans exist, and we will never surrender. And tell them this: if you ever threaten Earth again, we'll be ready." The transmission ended. Zexhai stared at the blank screen. In all his years of conquest, no species had ever threatened him. They had all begged for mercy, but these humans were different. They had fought when fighting was hopeless. They had sacrificed themselves for strangers. They had offered mercy to enemies who showed them none. "Set course for home," Zexhai ordered. "Quietly. Double quotes, sir. What should we tell the High Command?" Zexhai thought for a long moment. "Tell them we encountered a species that cannot be conquered. Tell them to avoid the human system. And if they ask why, tell them the truth. Tell them that humans would rather die than surrender, and that makes them the most dangerous species in the galaxy." Captain Amy Rodriguez was escorting the alien fleet to the edge of the solar system when something unexpected happened. Her ship's radio crackled to life. "Human vessel, this is the Zephyrian flagship." Amy looked at Frank in surprise. "Put them through." Zexhai's voice filled their small ship. "Human pilot, you fought well today." "Thank you," Amy replied. "Not sure what else to say. I have conquered 47 worlds." Zexhai continued. "I have seen many different species, but I have never seen anything like what I witnessed today." "What do you mean?" "Your species fights not just for victory, but for each other. You sacrifice yourselves for strangers. You offer mercy to enemies. This is not normal behavior." Amy smiled. "It's normal. For humans." There was a long pause. Then Zexhai spoke again. The galaxy will know what happened here. The story will spread to every world, every species. They will know that the Zephyrian Empire was defeated by a species that would not surrender. Good, Amy said. Maybe other species will learn from our example. Perhaps they will. Farewell, human pilot. I hope we never meet again. The alien fleet disappeared into hyperspace, leaving the solar system forever. Back on Earth, people were celebrating in the streets. The impossible had happened. Humanity had defeated an alien invasion. Church bells rang in cities around the world. Fireworks lit up the night sky. But in military command centers, the mood was more somber. The victory had come at a terrible cost. Thousands of pilots had died. Hundreds of ships had been destroyed. Entire cities had been damaged. President Alan Stone addressed the world from the Oval Office. My fellow humans, he began. Today we face the greatest threat in our history. An alien empire that had conquered 47 other species came to conquer us. He paused, looking directly into the camera. They learned something today. They learned that humans are different. We don't surrender. We don't give up. We fight for our freedom, our families, and our future. Around the world, people listened to their president's words, but our victory came at a price. Thousands of brave men and women gave their lives to protect Earth. They died so that we could remain free. We will never forget their sacrifice. Dr. Sam Mitchell was still monitoring space from his research station. He was collecting data on the alien retreat when he noticed something interesting. This is incredible, he said to his assistant. I'm picking up transmissions from other star systems. And news of our victory is spreading. What are they saying? Different. Alien species are talking about what happened here. They're asking each other if they could do what humans did. Sam smiled. I think we've started something bigger than just defending Earth. In the weeks that followed, reports came in from across the galaxy. Several species that had been conquered by the Zephyrians were beginning to rebel. The example of human resistance was inspiring others to fight for their freedom. Dr. Helen Walsh was documenting the entire event for history. She wrote, Today, humanity proved that freedom is more important than life itself. We showed the galaxy that some things are worth fighting for, even against impossible odds. Ambassador Turner received a special medal from the United Nations. When asked about his historic speech, he said, I just told them the truth. Humans don't surrender. We never have, and we never will. Captain Amy Rodriguez was promoted to admiral and put in charge of Earth's expanding space fleet. Her first order was to establish monitoring stations throughout the solar system. We need to be ready, she said. Other aliens might test us someday. The alien ship parts that crashed on Earth were studied by human scientists. Dr. Kevin Brooks led the research team. Their technology is advanced, he reported, but it's designed for conquering weak enemies. They never learned to fight real warriors. Years passed. Earth rebuilt its defenses and expanded into space. Human colonies were established on Mars and the outer planets. The solar system became a fortress, defended by a species that had proven it would never surrender. And throughout the galaxy, the story spread. The story of a species that had been offered slavery and chosen death instead. The story of humans who fought impossible battles and won through sheer determination. The Zephyrian Empire never returned to human space, but they never forgot what they had learned there. In their military academies, they taught young officers about the species that could not be conquered. The lesson was simple. Never threaten a species that has nothing left to lose. But humans had gained something from their victory. They had gained the knowledge that they could face any threat and survive. They had proven to themselves and to the galaxy that freedom was worth any price. And in the end, that was the most important Vic.